रूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तिशक्तिकं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य कलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया मनश्च भद्रं भजता ददोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapter number 4, beginning from verse number 31. So you wanted to ask something?
Yeah. So if the attributes and form and so on of the Lord, they cannot be grasped with the material senses and mind and intellect and so forth, can only be grasped by the descent of grace upon the Shiva. That would mean that Bhakti is a purely descending process.
Yeah. That's why it's difficult to understand and even more difficult to accept, because we don't like anything like this. I want something which I can do with my power.
Yeah, but that implies, this is very close to the Christian, especially Catholic concept that you are a sinner, there is no hope for you unless you get the grace from above.
Well, the first part is not accepted. It's not that you are a sinner and there is no hope or anything like that. There is no such description of sinner. The thing is that God is called Ishvara in Sanskrit. And Ishvara means one who is supreme controller. Means controller not that he's holding your shikha by the hand, but it's not that something can exist outside his power, or something can happen and he has no control over it. That is the basic premise or fundamental principle of the Vedas. And there is one reality, one tattva, one God, one Ishvara. And whether you call it he, she or it, depending on how you want to visualize. So just for language sake, I am using the masculine gender. He has everything under his control. There is nothing which can exist or function or can do any activity outside his jurisdiction. That is the basic principle. Otherwise, in fact, that is the definition of God. So it's not question that somebody is sinner or not a sinner. Even those who are not sinners, they are also under his control and they also depend on his grace only. It's no question that they can be independent. So whether one is conditioned or liberated, both are under his control. So he is the only supremely independent reality. And because he is the only supreme independent reality, then for anything to happen, he is the cause. Therefore it's called Sarva Karana Karana. What he says, Ananyad Ekam Hetu. He is the one cause, and Ananya means no other. This means he is the one prime cause, and there are other causes. If there are other causes, they are also dependent on him. They are not on him. So this is the principle.
But then you have in religion, you have that thing like in Christianity, the grace comes through Jesus. Here in Bhakti, you say the grace comes through Guru and Sadhu, and not otherwise. So that like opens the door to manipulation and power games, like in the church, we say you can only get the grace if you are belong to our church.
Yeah, so that of course, if somebody wants to misuse it, that is another thing. But it's not that the principle is making them misuse it. This is the principle, but if you want to use, like you are a police officer, your job is not to take bribe from people, but if you want to use that, it is not a problem.
So what does grace do when it is misused?
What does?
What happens in the misuse of the concept of grace?
No, those who are misusing, they don't have it. Because one who will have it will not misuse it. Because you cannot have it unless you are free from this very fact to misuse it. Anya vilasita sunya jnana karma dhyanavrita. Unless you are anya vilasita sunya, you are completely free from any such tendency. You cannot have the grace. So how can you give it to others? If you don't have it, and if you have it, that means you have already crossed any such thing. But what are you going to gain by exploiting others? Only something material. That means you have not even understood what grace means. So if you have not understood, how you will give it to others? You don't have it yourself. So grace by its very nature will make you free from such tendency. But if people want to misuse, then you can do anything.
What is grace?
What
is grace?
What is grace? Grace is power of God which makes you inclined towards God and make you understand what God is. Because as we said yesterday, that with our present faculties, we are incapable of understanding or knowing or approaching Him. So grace means that it is potence, it is the ability, it is a power which descends from God through His devotees, through the chain of disciplic succession. And then you also become able to understand.
So why God gives grace to some and not to others?
There is no why for that, because He is not bound by any whys.
Does it mean that we just don't know the answer to this question?
No, there is no answer to this. Just like why God is God, it's the same. Why has a limit. God is beyond why. Everything else you can ask why. But there has to be some limit for why also. Why this, why this, why this, you have to end somewhere. So we don't actually understand what is God, and that's why we ask questions like this. If you understand what God really means, then question does not arise. It's like you say, who created God? Right? Some people ask questions.
Why God does this and not that? What is the decision making process?
That's what
If
I'm
he is
saying.
limitless, he
Yeah.
can do like
So that is his free will. He is the one who has free will. And obviously free will does not have a why. It has a why, then it's not free. That means it's also being caused by something. So God is the one who actually has free will because he is free.
Does it mean that if God is free, does it mean that there are limitless possibilities for creation or non-creation, and he chooses something particular, or it's not, the frame of thinking we can apply?
Frame of
Thinking,
who's thinking?
if you can even ask this kind of question.
No, you can ask a question, but that's what I'm saying. You have to understand who is God. And if you understand who is God and what is the nature of God, then this question is naturally answered by it. And this is what I'm saying, that God is somebody who is supremely independent. There is nothing which controls him. And if there is nothing controls him, means that he is not obliged by anything. He is supremely free. If there was something which will incite his grace, that means now he is controlled by that. You understand? So then that becomes a cause. And this is what I was telling yesterday when we discussed a little bit about free will. So he is the only person who is actually free. And because he is actually free, then this question does not arise. But why and how? That's the meaning of free will. He does it.
So you probably can say that question of freedom arises when there is an option to be not free. And if there is no such option, you even cannot talk about freedom. But about, say, human freedom, suppose if you know that you are conditioned by certain thing, you can realize it, right? You can see it at some point.
Some things.
Yeah, some. Not always, but to a certain extent. And then you say, okay, I know that I'm conditioned. This trigger causes this kind of effect. But because I know it, I can stop it and say...
That is not necessary. Just because you know it does not mean that you can stop it.
Maybe you cannot, maybe you can.
Right? That's what I'm saying. It's not necessary that you can
Not
stop
necessary, but my point is that if you can stop it, does it mean that you stop to be conditioned in that particular aspect and you are free
in
to a certain extent?
Yeah, to that extent you become free.
And then you can even before doing anything, you just drop a coin and act according to the coin outcome or the dice outcome. Is it not also freedom because you cut your conditioning at every step?
Yeah, but the coin is not free, which way it will drop. It's influenced by so many things. Influenced by the resistance of the air, how you throw it, which way it was inclined. So many things.
But at least there is no this, strict link between cause and effect. Like
That's
this is
what
a
I'm
trigger,
saying.
this is the effect.
That's what I'm saying. You are thinking like this, but I'm saying it is not. It also has cause and effect. Also. It's because we don't perceive it, we think like this, not it is happening randomly. It's not happening randomly. It looks like that. Because if you throw, say 10 times, maybe 5 heads, 3 heads, 7 tails, but if you saw 100 times and 1000 times, the possibility is 50-50.
Yeah.
Right? That means it's not random. If it is random, then possibility could be 1% or 99%. Then that's what random means.
But we say it's random with respect to a particular trial, and when we talk about a series of trials,
if it is not random, if we have 1000 chances, that means it's also not random for one, because that only adds up to that. If it is random in one trial, then it should be random in 100,000 trials also.
No.
But what do you mean? No.
I mean that it's
1000 trials are addition of 1, 1, 1, 1 only.
no. I think what it means that if you take individual trial, you cannot know what is the outcome.
Yeah, you cannot know, but that's what I am saying. It has a cause which you cannot know, and that becomes very clear that when you are thrown 1000 times, then chances are 50-50. And if the chances are 50-50, that shows it's not random. There's something which is controlling it to be 50-50.
First
And
of
if it is
all,
happening at 1000, in 1000 you see it, then it must be in 1 also, but in 1 it's not visible.
First of all, if you do even 1000 trial, you won't get 50-50. You even, if there is a probability you get 1000 heads.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. There's a probability, that's only theoretical. It doesn't happen.
But it probably won't happen that you have 500, maybe it will be.
I'm not saying 500, I'm saying almost 50-50. That shows it is not really random. And more you increase, more it will be closer to 50-50. And that's what it's showing. So more you have number of trials, more it is becoming fixed, which shows there is a cause behind it. More it is 1, you cannot predict. More number it is becoming predictable, and predictable means shows cause. And if it is a cause in so many trials, then it must be also in 1, but in 1 it is so little that you are unable to say it, but the cause is there. Because if it is not in 1, it will also not be in 1000. And if it is in 1000, it must be in 1 also. That's what I'd say.
If the coin is unweighted, you just have 2 equally probable events. They're just equally probable, that it doesn't mean there is any cause behind it.
Why? Why is it equally probable? Why not imbalanced? There is a cause for it to be equally probable or not? How can you say it otherwise? If there is no cause, you cannot predict anything. But you yourself are saying that it is equally probable, that means you know there is a cause behind it. Something is causing it to be equal. Otherwise, without a cause, how are you able to predict? When there is no cause, you can't say anything because there is no cause. The very reason that you are saying it is equally probable, that means there is a cause.
You could say that there is a continuum, and if you take, say, normally manufactured coin, there is nothing particular that weighs to other versus to one side versus the other, but you can make a weighted coin, so you'll get 30, 70.
So that means there is a cause. Just as if you make it lopsided,
Yeah.
and you know that probability is more this side. Why? Because there is a cause. And when it is equal, probability is 50-50. Why?
Yeah.
Because there is a cause. That's what I am trying to say. It's because of some cause that the probability is like this. If it is totally random, you can't say anything. That's what random means. Just because it is equally probable does not mean that there is no cause. Equally probable also shows there is a cause.
I think cause and randomness, doesn't mean, it's not that direct relation between them, that if something has a cause, it's not random. Random
No,
just say that you don't know the one particular
And you don't call it random. If you know the cause, then you can predict. That's the whole idea. Random is simply you're saying you don't know, that's all. It doesn't mean that there's no cause. That's what it means. It's like we say, well, it happened, there was an accident. There's nothing accident, it's just that we don't know. We don't call it an accident. It's all ignorance. That's all. So everything is under control of somebody. Some things we know, some things we don't know. The things we don't know, then we try to also philosophize that in some way.
So does it mean that we're like a puppets if everything is not discontrolled?
And if you really understand, then you'll realize, yes. But it is not exactly your thinking. There is a consciousness involved, and consciousness is a very interesting thing. Therefore, In quantum mechanics, that's the problem they are having. They are trying to understand matter without consciousness. And for the last 90 years they are struggling and they have not come to any solution. String theory, field theory and some other theories have been given up, but there is nothing which can explain, because you cannot explain anything without God perfectly. You will always have trouble. So now scientists are also believing this, that it is not possible to come up with any damn unified field theory which will explain every phenomenon. It is not possible. Why? Because consciousness is also a phenomenon which they are avoiding. So without taking consciousness, and God is the source of all consciousness, without taking Him into picture, you cannot define anything, frankly speaking. You think you are able to define, it is all workable. If I ask you what is this, you will say table, and if I ask you what exactly is a table, you will have a hard time explaining me. Is table separate from these parts, or it is a combination of parts?
Yeah, but this is, this discussion about the meaning of thing goes for millennia, and people propose different solutions. You can define it functionally, something that you use,
So
writing, and you have...
here it is being defined in absolute terminology, not that you define one day and then another definition comes to refute it, and then another one comes to refute it. This is the absolute explanation, that once you know it, there is nothing you can do about it. This is the way it is. And unless you will realize this, you will keep on fighting with each other, and that's exactly what the next verse is saying. It's a very interesting verse.
Which one?
The verse we are going to read now.
Yeah, so what is the number?
21. Yacchaktayo vadatam vadinam vai vivad samvad bhuvo bhavanti kurvanti chesham mur atma moham tasmai namo ananta gunaya bhumne. I pay my obeisances to that Supreme Person who has unlimited qualities. It is His potencies, powers, which are making the proponents and opponents argue with each other and putting them into illusion again and again. Kurvanti chasam atma moha. So unless one will come to recognize this ultimate absolute reality, there will always be theories, and then there will always be people who will come and find some problem with that theory. And then another will come and give another theory, and another theory, and another theory. So this is the bhumi, or the platform for vivad and samvad. Vivad means argument, samvad means agreement, synthesis.
Vivad
and samvad. So there is a vad and there is a vivad. Vivad actually means fighting, quarreling. So vada is a proponent and vivada is an opponent. And then there is samvada, it's like compromise, agreement. So he says this is what keeps on happening. That one school of philosophy, then there is another school of philosophy, then there is another school of philosophy, then there is another school of philosophy. And why does it happen? He says it's just the potency of the God. God gives one little energy to somebody, he gets a little light in his hand and he starts speaking about it. Then another one comes, he has a little more light, he comes and refutes it. Then somebody else comes and he has another type of light, so he starts speaking in another way. And everybody gets little followers behind him and explain that. And then there is argument and counter-argument. So he says this goes on without any end. And this brings all types of atma moha, bewilderment in the mind of people. So unless and until one will actually come to God and surrender to Him, this will continue. Simple. So he says, therefore I am bound unto Him. So there is no end. Because even if you take one leaf from this tree, the amount of knowledge which exists in this leaf, it's amazing. You can spend your whole life studying this, the structure, the cells, and what is inside the cell, and the DNA, and how things are working, and it's a whole world. Just in one leaf, there's a whole universe. And we don't know what all is there. And you know that science agrees that 96% of the universe is filled with dark matter or dark energy. So what they are talking about is only 4%. Other 96% is, you don't even know what it is, it's just dark. So maybe one day some light can come into that also, then you will start talking about, and then all these equations can change. Because all your unified field theory is only talking about 4%. And suppose you get knowledge about 2 more percent, who knows, God can give somebody that faculty to see. And then your unified field theory will collapse in your head. Because certain things you start seeing and happening which will not be accommodated by this theory. And these laws will fail. Then what will you do? So this we can understand only from the knowledge which science has given to us. We can extrapolate that this is possible. Even if it is not happening, possibility is there. You cannot deny it. So therefore the verse is saying yat shaktiyo vadatam vadinam vai vivada samvada bhuvo bhavan. So this is all energy, because this material nature itself is so vast and so many sides. Just try to understand these 3 gunas of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. It's amazing. It's that much. Which science has not even reached. Science knows nothing about Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Therefore they make medicine. They make medicine same for everybody. They come up with a psychological principle. They come with the same principle for everybody. But it's not. If your principle, you have done your research on all the Rajasic people, it will not apply on Sattvic people. And mostly they are studying people who are Rajasic and Tamasic. So it's not going to. And that is another thing, that there may not be so many Sattvic people, but if there are people who are Sattvic, this will fail. Same with the medicine. So they don't even know that there is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and therefore everybody has got some specific nature and a specific mind. Maybe certain things are common because everybody has Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, but different percentages. So one day they may recognize this, and then they may also start giving different medicines according to the nature of people, which they are not doing now. Now you go and they say, okay, have this test, have this. So this machine is just a machine. So you have some X-ray, or you have some other MRI, or some other machine, and the doctor is sitting. The doctor does not even, may not even look at your face, and he sees and then he prescribes. But you are not these things. You are also having your own personality, and mind has a lot of influence on your body and on your diseases, the psychosomatic problems. These machines don't study that.
I think they want to study on the one hand, but also on the other hand, the way I describe the medicine is just because, it's all business, money, that's the way.
But that's how it will be. It will always be business, because everything is controlled by business people. They want to see how they can make more profit. All the research is funded by them. So therefore he says, yat shaktiyo vadatam vadinam vivada samvada bhuvo bhavan. That's how it goes on, and that's how it will go on. Kurvanti cha sham guna atmanoham. So this is the bewilderment. So one who is beyond this, he sees this all as a delusion or a bewilderment of people. We may not believe in him, and we are free to do that. That much free will you can have. That much freedom you have. Okay, I don't want to accept it. Don't accept. Actually, acceptance comes only by the grace. So you can reject, and if you reject, there's nothing, there's no loss. For those who are doing this knowledge, okay, that's your choice. But When you will be situated at that point, then you will agree with them that yes, they were right, or you were right. Till then, it's Atma Moha. Atma Moha means delusion, bewilderment, confusion. Although we may not say it, but we have it.
Yeah, so if you have choice, you have some kind of freedom.
That's I was saying yesterday, it is conditional freedom. Nanumatra mate sajatiya vijatiya swagat bheda ahishnavo anye advaitvadino vivadante. So he says that what you have said in the previous verse, where he used all the 7 cases of Sanskrit, that everything is happening in him, by him, through him, for him, from him, related to him. So he says that those who are Advaitvadis, monists, they do not agree to this, because they say that there is no difference in the absolute reality. There are 3 types of differences. They are called Sajatiya difference, or difference in the same class, Vijatiya difference in class, from one class to another class, and Swagat difference in the one object. It's like we have this table. So this table is different from other tables. This is called difference of within the same class. One table is not another table. When the table is not shared, this is difference from one class to another class. And then within the table, one leg of the table is different from the other leg. So these are the 3 types of differences which are related to this one object. In case of Brahman, which is accepted by the Advaitvadi, these 3 types of differences do not exist. Because Brahman is uniform, qualityless, all-pervading reality, it has no parts. So there is no difference within itself. And Brahman is the only reality, nothing else exists except for Brahman. Sarvam khalu idam Brahman. Everything is Brahman. So there is no difference of class, and there is no difference in the same class because there is only one Brahman. So that's why Brahman is called Advait. Means non-dual or monist. So he says, Advaitvadis say like this. We have said other thing before, that all God and God have energy and everything in him. There is variety. So there is clash. And then he says, there are Naiyayikas. They clash with the Advaitvadis. Naiyayikas, he says, Shodash Padarthvaditvat. So they say that there are 16 padarthas. There is Pramana, Prameya, Sansa, Prayojan, Drishtanta, Siddhanta, Avyava, Tarka, Nirnay, Vad, Jalpa, Vidanta, Vitanda, Hettvabhas, Chal, Jati and Nigrah Sthanani, Tattva Jnanat, Nishrayas, Adhigama, the Sutra of Nyaya. So the author of Nyaya Sutra, Gautam Rishi, he says that by knowing these 16 padarthas, these 16 categories, these ontological divisions, you will know the tattva. So according to him, the tattva, the reality consists of the 16 padarthas, 16 categories. Advaitvadis have only one. So therefore Naiyayikas, they fight with Advaitvadis. They debate with them. And then there are Dvaitavadis, then comes Sankhya. Sankhya says, no, there are only 2 things, Prakriti and Purusha. That's no 16 things. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavarjanam kshetra kshetra ke sanyogat tad buddhi bhartarsham. Everything is a combination of kshetra and kshetra ke, Purusha and Prakriti. That's all. So then Sankhya debates with the Nyaya. Nyaya debates with Advaita. And then we have Vaisheshika. Taishanya Vaisheshika Samvananta. Then the Vaisheshika say that they are 7 padarthas. So they say that we have Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesh, Abhava, Sapt padartha. There is substance, there is quality, there is action, there is class, there is Vishesha, there is speciality, there is inherence, and there is non-existence.
So does it mean that Vedas don't unambiguously talk about this? So that all different schools have their own opinions?
Because these different schools are not based on Vedas.
Okay.
They were started by sages because they got little light in their hand and they started one school. Gautam started as Nyaya, Kanad started as Vaisheshika.
So Sankhya is not based on Vedas?
No. Sankhya is not based on Veda. Yoga is also not based on Veda. Started by Patanjali. So there are 2 schools which are actually based on Veda, that is Purnamamsa and Vedanta. But then Purnamamsa and Vedanta also fight. Purnamamsa says that the purpose of Veda is only doing Dharma, and Vedanta says purpose of Veda is not doing Dharma but attaining Jnana. And then in Vedanta there is division of Advaitavadi and non-Advaitavadis. They say the purpose is not Jnana but love of God. So there is so much variety. So he says, then the Vaisheshikas, they come and they debate. So you have to study all the systems, very interesting. And then you know how the debate goes from one to another. Taischa sarvach anye न कदाचिद अनिदृशम जगतिति वदन्तो मीमांसका vivadante. So then with them there are others, the Mimamsakas. They debate with all of them. Say, you guys don't even base it on the Vedas, we are following Vedas. And they say that universe is anidrisham. It is never created, it is never destroyed. Mimamsakas don't believe in the cyclic creation. They say that everything is just existing, it was, the universe was never created and it will never be destroyed. Swamindrisham Jagat. So that is there. Then there are Swabhavadis. They say forget about God. Everything is just Swabhav. Something like Darwin's theory. Everything has its nature, it evolves. And there is laws. There is survival of the fittest.
So does it mean that there is not a single realized person who knows it all?
That's what he is, the realized person, that's why he is speaking. He knows it all and that's why he is talking about this all. So, then the Swabhavadis, Techa Tattvavid Bhir Bodhita Api Kuta Punar Muhyanti Iti Tattva. So in this way he says that although they are all claiming to be the knower of the truth, and they have some confusion. Because ultimately there is always some confusion. If the yoga is there, you can ask question to them, they will not be able to answer it. You can ask question to Sankhya, they will not be able to answer. You can ask question to Purvamansika, they cannot answer. Why? Because they are excluding something which is being described here. So they also face the same problem which modern scientists are facing.
So again you are saying that author of Srimad Bhagavatam is the only realized person?
Yes. and those who follow it. Why are you laughing?
Because I think every school claims the same thing.
That's
They
why-
are right.
So that's why
Fixed
you answer my question, or I answer your question. You see, you take part of any school, you become.
It's like party
Hmm?
membership.
No, you become a proponent of one school, and I will ask you a question and you answer me. You tell me which school do you represent. Or you ask me and I will answer you. So that is the greatness of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is not an ordinary book. It's not a question of just general talk or thing. This is the thing which gives you the ultimate reality, which is not found anywhere. And I'm not claiming this because I'm reading it, because I'm claiming it because I have also read others. I've also read Yoga, I've also read Sankhya, I've also read Buddhism, I've read Jainism, I've read Purnimas, I've read Advaita Vedanta, and I've also read modern science. So I've read and then I'm reading this. So I'm speaking with some experience and authority, not because I'm a fanatic. So if you have disagreement, okay, come up, say it.
No, not at this point.
We'll handle it. No, I'm seriously I'm saying. This is a book which answers things clearly. There is no other book, no other Purana which explains reality so systematically and so clearly, but it has to be studied from a teacher. If you just read, these books are just like textbook. You can't understand a textbook of quantum mechanics without having a professor. Those are aids, but you need a professor who will explain. So the same thing with these books. Bhagavatam is the test of one's scholarship. One who can understand Bhagavatam is a real Vedic scholar. And this is called litmus test of scholarship.
Could it be said that there is something like evolution
Evolution.
with all these schools and different,
You see, that is one way you can see it. You have to see it, there is no harm. But the thing is that all schools have always existed. Only thing is that particular time one school becomes prominent. And another time another school becomes prominent. Why it happens? Because of the gunas which keeps on changing. So when particular guna becomes prominent, then one thing, just like now yoga is becoming popular, right? Or if I go to Europe, then I see Ganesh is becoming popular. So there is a reason for that, why they are becoming, because there are certain gunas which in the whole society become popular, and then naturally they follow. This is what I was explaining, why so many things are made available in the Vedic system, because things keep on changing and then people become attracted to something. And Krishna says, Shraddhamayo ayam purusha yoja chardasya. Everybody has some faith, and that faith comes according to the constitution of your heart. So you are born with certain constitution of your heart, and that gives you natural inclination, attraction to certain things.
Yeah, you can say that truth or God or whatever has many different aspects, infinite number of aspects, and you just stress a particular aspect or number of aspects at the expense of
So
others.
all of these schools have some truth in them. It's not that they are all wrong. But what I am saying is that there is something lacking in them. And that is completed here in Bhagavatam. So if you know all these schools, then you will understand the Bhagavatam very perfectly, because all these schools are actually dealt here. There's talk of Sankhya, there's talk of Purnamasa, and there's talk of Subhavat. So Bhagavatam gives the complete picture. It starts like that. Because in the very beginning 6 questions were asked. And in the answer he says this, that there is Vadanti tat tattvadas tattvam vijnanamadvam brahmeti parmatmati bhagavanti shandati. And there is Jivasya tattva jigyasa anartha sriha karma. The purpose of human life is to do inquiry into tattva and not just making money in your job. He said like, nacha artha ye karma. Artha means money and karma means job. So he says it's not that you just waste all your time making money. He says also do tattva jigyasa. What is the tattva? What is the reality? Why do we exist? Where do we go from where we come? How do I relate with others, to the universe, how the universe is related to me? This is all tattva jigyasa. And then he says tattva is one. So that one tattva is being explained, but this one tattva has a lot of variety, yet it is one. So that is being explained here. So different scholars, different sages, they also got realization of one part of it. And then they base their school on that. So it is also helpful to study all that. But the ultimate knowledge is given here in Bhagavatam. This solves all queries. This is where the buck stops.
So you're saying that Bhagavatam is more important than Vedas?
Yes. Because you study Veda, you will understand nothing. There is nothing you will understand from the Veda, zero. Except for confusion.
Why? Because the
You
time that separates us from
do it
it.
an experiment. I have it in basement. Read it, then you know it for yourself. Because Veda is written in a language for which you have to know many things. And you don't know those things, so therefore you will know nothing about it. It will only confuse and you will think why people are even talking about these books. What is so great about them? So it is a different style of writing. That's why Vyasadeva wrote this. Because those people who cannot understand that, Traina Shruti Gochara. So people who are not Dvijas, who are not twice born, Shruti of the Vedas is not approachable to them. We are talking about God is not approachable in our senses. He is saying even Vedas are not approachable to them. They will get nothing from it, except for confusion, which is happening. So many people are attacking Vedas now, doing so many things. They are not wrong because they can't understand. They are groping in darkness. And of course no one wants to say I don't understand it. So then at least I attack it and I satisfy my ego. So there is no loss to the Veda for that. It does not diminish the value of the Vedas. But Vedas which are supposed to give, the very word Veda means knowledge, which is supposed to give light to people, they don't get it. Because they are not qualified and they are not using the right approach.
So now I just think that from what you said that Vedas and Bhagavatam is pretty much the same thing, only that Bhagavatam is approachable and Vedas is not, for modern purpose, for Western.
So this is called the fruit of the Vedic tree. If you compare Veda and a tree, this is the fruit. So what you want is leaves or you want the fruit?
But what about Bhagavad Gita?
Bhagavad Gita is good, but it also cannot give you what it gives. Bhagavad Gita is very short, 700 slokas. It was just a discourse on the battlefield. Here people are sitting quietly and talking without any disturbance that now I have to fight. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is only trying to convince Arjuna he should fight. So you cannot speak something which is not necessary there.
Can we say, Maharaj, Bhagavad Gita is milk and the Bhagavatam is butter?
If you want to think like that. You have to have good liver to digest milk. So then we have the Mimamsakas and then Swabhavadis. So Yat Shaktaya Yasya Maya Shakti Vrittayo Vadatam Samadhatatam Vadinam Tatra Akshep Kritam Vivadasya Kvachit Samvadasya Cha Bhuva Utpatti Heto Bhavanti. So he says that these are all various vrittis of Maya Shakti. Maya is one potency of Lord and it has got various branches in it. So Maya has got two major divisions. One is the division of knowledge and another is the division of ignorance. And in the knowledge part there are further divisions. So some people are blessed by Maya, by the knowledge part. So they get some light when they start in school. But in that there are various divisions. So they debate with this. This is all because of the Maya. So Vadinam Tatra Akshep Kritam Vivadasya Kvachit. So then there are Vadis who are attacking it or giving counter arguments. And Kvachit Samvadasya, sometimes there are also agreements. The schools are not completely at loggerheads with each other. There are many things they have in common, they accept. So he says this is the ground or the place. Ground means where these things originate. Prayojana Maha Atma Moha. And what is the outcome of all this? Bewilderment. Confusion. Atmanam Jigyasa Mana Namapi. Even those who are trying to inquire and know, they are also confused. And again and again. Tatra Avicheda Suchita. Non-stop. They never become confusion. Ananta Gunaya Ananta Sabdasya Anekartatvena Nana Anashavachitvat Gunanam Anashratvam Nishinatvam Chattam. So therefore Lord is here called Ananta Gunaya, who has unlimited qualities. So the word Ananta has many meanings. That means that which has no end. But no end of what? That is not specified. So Ananta Shabdasya Anekarthatve Nana Anashavachitva means it is indestructible. Gunanam Anaswaratvam Nisimati. So these gunas have no end. And therefore all the time newer and newer theories are coming, newer and newer research are coming. We think that we have discovered so many things, but we don't know how many more are not yet discovered. Now when we see 100 years back in history, we think people were, they didn't know so many things. But maybe after 100 years they will think same about us. Because what we have, we did not have 50 years ago and still we were living. But now life seems like impossible without those things. So there is no end to it. Because we don't know what all is available in the nature. We go on becoming small and small, first bigger phones, then smaller phones, smaller phones. Now they want to come up with a glass you put on, everything is in your glass, on the computer or anything. Then they want to put a chip inside you. And maybe they will go inside the cell, they will make a change in your brain and anything. So we don't know what all is going to happen. Nanotechnology. Very interesting. So this is the meaning of Ananta. So I will stop here and continue tomorrow. Another question?
Yeah, I do have a question. So these different schools, obviously they give some fruits, otherwise they wouldn't be popular. Yoga gives fruits, Sankhya and Vimamsaka and all this. So now if someone actually attains those fruits or perfections, if you can call them perfections, then do those fruits lead him further to towards the Bhagavatam or the complete understanding, or where does such a person or such a realizer end?
Actually, they don't get the fruit without the help of bhakti. Just like you take yoga. Although yoga, most people think that it has nothing to do with God. Right? And you can even be a non-believer. But really speaking, that's okay. You do some asanas, pranayam, you can feel some change in your body and all that. But that's not yoga, that's all bahyanga. The antaranga, the real inner part of yoga is dharana, dhyana and samadhi. And to reach there, you have to have this other 5 bases. But in the basis itself, there is Ishwar Pranidhana, surrender to God. So without that, there is no samadhi. You can have some kind of idea that you have attained samadhi, but it's not going to happen. So even in the first chapter, he said Ishwar Pranidhana Dva, that you can get samadhi simply by Ishwar Pranidhana, without doing anything else.
But what does it mean, Ishvara Pranidhana?
Surrender to God.
What does it mean, surrender to God?
This is what Bhagavatam is talking. Bhakti, devotion.
What is devotion?
Devotion means that you accept yourself as servant of God and understand that your mind, your body, your intelligence, your senses, they are all meant to do service to God.
But God doesn't need any service. Right?
He does not need. I'm not saying he needs. You need it. If you want to attain samadhi, then I'm saying you need it. Otherwise I'm saying do what you want to do, you will not get it.
But what is service to God? Not doing things for your own benefit?
What is your benefit?
Hmm?
What is your benefit?
If you accept God, your benefit is already realized.
Yeah, so you have to accept God, and that is your benefit. That's your only benefit. Everything else is not your benefit. Everything else is benefit for the human body, which is not yours.
Okay, but if you accept God, what is the meaning of service?
That's what I'm saying, to understand that this instrument which you are carrying, to use it in the service of God, to accept this fact that this does not belong to me, this is property of God, it is given by God and therefore it is meant for God. Like you go to office and they give you a table and chair and computer to work. So you know all the time that they don't belong to me, they belong to the company and therefore they are meant for company. Like that you have been given this machine on which you are riding happily. So this machine has been given to you, but now you think it is yours. And then when you think yours, then God says, oh, no problem, you can think like this, but then you are under the law of karma. Whatever you will do with this, you will get the reaction for that. But when you think it belongs to God and it is given for God's service and you use it in service, then you become free from the karma and then you get your own benefit, which is love of God. So that is what bhakti is all about. It's very simple, but very difficult to accept. It's the most difficult thing to accept. You can do all gymnastics, you can touch your toes, you can stand your hand, you can walk on your knees, you can do all that. But to accept that I belong to God. That is very hard. Because I have to have my ego. So giving up this ego, this is the hardest thing. So bending back, that is yoga. And when you have done that for a long time, then yoga says Ishwar Pranidhana. It says now you bend your ego. This is the trick. So that's why Patanjali says Ishwar Pranidhana. So people forget about Ishwar Pranidhana, they keep on bending their back. And then they don't reach the goal. So Patanjali, he knew, therefore he put it very cleverly. Otherwise so many people will not take to yoga. Then some people, they open their eyes and say, what is this Ishwar Pranidhana? Let me find out. Others can go on doing gymnastics.
So, what it has to do with the pujas and chanting names of gods?
Another way to approach now. That's what we studied yesterday. That it is, these names, they have potency of God and descends through that process to realize this.